Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another Embrace Your Power story.
Definitely.
Today, we're looking at the life of Rang Avadhoot.
An Indian spiritual teacher, right?
Yeah, and not as widely known as some figures we've covered, but man, his life is packed with these moments of quiet strength.
Hmm.
You know, just makes you rethink what resilience really means.
I agree. It's not about like flashy displays of power with him. It's something deeper.
Exactly. Rang Avadhoot, who lived from 1898 to 1968, was all about simplicity, deep devotion to Lord Dattatreya, this Hindu deity.
And inner transformation.
Yeah.
A real commitment to that.
Which is really what this whole Embrace Your Power theme is about, right?
Mm.
So for this deep dive, we've got two main sources. First, there's this biography called Sri Guru Leelamrit,
Full of stories about his life.
and then there's a website dedicated to, keeping his teachings alive.
And what we're hoping to do is see how all of that, his life, his teachings, can help us tap into our own inner strength. Like, what can we learn from this guy?
So let's jump in, shall we? Right from the start, even as a kid, Rang Avadhoot was bright, really drawn to Sanskrit.
The ancient language of a lot of Indian scriptures.
And we're not talking just a casual interest here.
Oh, no, he was immersed in it, like deeply. He even wrote this whole Sanskrit commentary on a collection of verses.
Which, come on, that's pretty impressive for anyone, let alone a young guy.
Shows real dedication, scholarship even.
Definitely not just a hobby. And there's this anecdote from his childhood that I think really shows this independent spirit he had. His mom's freaking out because a government official, the collector, is about to pass by.
Oh, I know this one. She's worried about appearances. Rang Avadhoot is outside playing in just a loincloth.
Right. And she's like, what will people think? Typical mom stuff.
And his response, I love this. He basically says, if the collector's so bothered by my clothes, he can buy me new ones.
It's amazing. Total disregard for social pressure. Something we could all probably learn from.
Totally. Even as adults, that stuff gets to us. But this kid, not a care in the world.
So self-assured. And that makes you wonder, right? Where did that come from? But anyway, Rang Avadhoot wasn't just a bookworm. He actually becomes a Sanskrit teacher.
Yeah.
And from what I gather, a pretty influential one.
There's this story about a school inspector visits the school while Rang Avadhoot is out, getting lunch or something.
Okay.
The inspector's blown away. The students are, like, perfectly behaved, focused.
In love with their teacher.
Yep. He even said that was the real inspection, the one that mattered.
Wow. Makes you wonder, what was his secret? How did he create that kind of atmosphere?
Right. What were his methods? There's another school story, too. This one involves a student who's supposed to buy sweets for the class.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, he pockets some of the money, steals a few sweets, too.
So classic kid stuff. What'd Rang Avadhoot do? Expel him?
Nope. He calmly reveals to the kid that he knew all along, but no punishment. Instead, he uses it as a teaching moment.
About?
Trust, forgiveness, really powerful stuff, choosing understanding over anger.
So these stories, they really paint a picture of this guy who sees the good in people, meets them where they're at.
Yeah, no judgment.
But even as he's excelling as this teacher, there's this pull towards a more spiritual life.
Absolutely. It's like this inner call to go deeper. And he even considers going to the Himalayas, like many spiritual seekers in India do.
Right, the classic journey.
Yeah.
But then he meets this, how do I put this?
Eccentric.
Yeah, this eccentric saint named Dada Dunivala.
The one who used to throw everything people offered him into a fire.
Yeah. But when Rang Avadhoot offered him a mango, Dada Dunivala ate it.
And later, while sleep-talking, he basically tells Rang Avadhoot to go to the Narmada River instead.
Wild, right, like divine redirection. So he sets off for the Narmada.
But not to some peaceful retreat.
No, he ends up in Nareshvar, which back then was pretty much a desolate jungle.
And a crumbling Shiva temple. Not exactly a five-star destination.
But there's this sign. Upon arriving, he sees peacocks and a cobra playing together peacefully.
Imagine that. Natural enemies, just chilling. It hints at something special about the place,
Like hidden sanctity. And it's in this wild, unexpected place that things really start to get interesting.
His Embrace Your Power journey really begins.
It's like stepping into a whole other world. You've got this wild, almost forbidding place. And it's here, in Nareshvar, that his faith, his inner strength, is really tested.
Yeah, the biography talks about these stories from this period, almost like, myths or legends.
Right. Like, seriously. Take the story of his friend Keshavdas.
Oh, the one who is thirsty.
Yes. He comes to visit, and he's desperate for water.
Meh.
But Rang Avadhoot is unwell Can't get it himself. I mean, most of us would be panicking, right?
For sure. But not Rang Avadhoot.
He's completely calm. Tells Kashavdas, don't worry, Lord Dattatreya knows our need. He must send you to get the water.
Such trust. It's incredible. Like, he just knew things would work out somehow.
And it wasn't just thirst he had to deal with. There's this other story. This midnight encounter with robbers. 2 of them, armed.
Oh, wow. Imagine that. Being woken up in the middle of the night by these guys.
Demanding all your valuables.
Yeah.
Scary stuff. But Rang Avadhoot's reaction, totally unexpected.
Let me guess. He doesn't resist at all.
Exactly. He's fearless. Tells them, take what you want from my treasure chest. Referring to his, humble hut.
And they just leave.
Empty-handed. But here's the thing. They get stuck. Can't seem to leave the area around Nareshvar for the rest of the night. Like some unseen force is holding them there.
That's wild. Almost like this protective energy around him. But speaking of wild, have you heard the one about the crocodiles?
Oh, yeah. That one's intense. Rang Avadhoot is standing in the Narmada River, right? Chest deep, doing his morning prayers. 3 crocodiles are spotted, swimming right towards him from different directions.
No way. People on the shore must have been freaking out.
Totally. But Rang Avadhoot, not phased at all. Just sprinkles some water in their direction.
Yeah.
Speaks to them like they're, divine beings come to bless him.
What? And then they just leave.
Vanish. Poof. It's crazy.
Right.
Like, what was going through his mind? How do you stay that calm with crocodiles coming at you?
It's beyond bravery. There's this deep peace, connection to something bigger.
And there's another story that kind of echoes that. The scorpions.
Oh, right. He's talking with his disciple late at night.
And a scorpion appears, heading straight for him. Disciple's alarmed, obviously.
Makes sense. What did Rang Avadhoot do?
Just moves aside, calmly.
And that was it?
Well, no, it happens again. A bigger scorpion this time. More menacing,
Oh, come on. 3 times. Seriously.
3rd time's the charm, right? The disciple sees it as a sign. Like, even saints need their rest.
Divine intervention. I like that.
But Rang Avadhoot, he just sees it as a natural thing. Nothing to worry about. Like, life just happens.
So much acceptance. But it wasn't like he was passive, He had clear principles, especially about Nareshvar.
Yeah. Cleanliness was huge for him. And absolutely no smoking on the grounds.
Respecting the purity of the space, keeping it free from negativity.
Exactly. And that focus on purity, it wasn't just about outward stuff. It was about inner transformation, too.
Remember that story about someone wanting to bring sugar to Nareshvar for tea?
Oh, yeah. To offer to visitors.
And Rang Avadhoot is like, why? Why are we catering to these addictions?
Even something as simple as tea.
It was all about focus, detachment, letting go of those little things that we cling to. It's a tough lesson.
But an important one, right? Because maybe those little attachments are keeping us from experiencing true freedom. And speaking of challenges, Rang Avadhoot didn't shy away from those either. He decided to undertake the Narmada Parikrama.
That's that pilgrimage along the entire Narmada River, right?
Over 2,200 kilometers. It's not a walk in the park. We're talking months of walking, harsh weather, wild animals.
Not to mention thieves.
Right. A serious undertaking. And the crazy part is, he could have used his English and Sanskrit skills to make it easier.
To get special treatment?
Yeah, but he chose not to. Wanted to experience it with humility.
Relying on his inner resources instead of, social advantages. That says a lot.
Total commitment to growth. Stripping away anything that could create separation,
Like ego or superiority.
Connecting with something bigger. And the stories from that journey are just as incredible. There's one where he gets lost.
And then what? Someone rescues him.
In a way. This mysterious woodcutter appears, guides him back to the path.
And then vanishes.
Poof, gone. And another time, he gets sick, has a fever.
Did he finally, accept medical help?
Nope. Relied on his inner strength to heal. Just incredible faith in himself.
Wow. And then there's that creepy story, right? At a well in the middle of the night, he hears these, plunging sounds.
Over and over again. But he doesn't react with fear.
At all. That's wild. And wasn't there something about a tiger, too?
Yeah. While he's resting with these other ascetics, suddenly a tiger appears.
Oh, no. What happened?
You know, right? It's crazy, all these stories. But they all point back to the same thing. This deep connection he had to his inner power. His faith in Lord Dattatreya's protection.
He faced it all with this, calmness, resilience. Most of us can only imagine that.
And after all that, he returns to Nareshvar. You'd think he'd want to relax, take it easy. But even then, his life is full of these remarkable events.
He couldn't just, retire.
Apparently not. There's this story about a fisherman, Moore. He claims he could hear Rang Avadhoot reciting these sacred hymns, even when he wasn't physically there.
Really? Like his presence could be felt no matter where he was.
And then there's the incident with Mulefoy, this woman who's being tormented by an evil spirit. Rang Avadhoot just banishes it from Nareshvar.
Protects the place, maintains its sanctity.
Exactly. And there's even a tale of a barren she-buffalo. Starts working in Nareshvar and suddenly becomes fertile.
Like the land itself was blessed.
I know it sounds like a fairy tale, but it makes you wonder, right? His power wasn't something he forced. It just emanated from him, transforming everything around him. So much to unpack here. We've heard these wild stories about Rang Avadhoot, right? Really embracing his power. But what does that mean for, the rest of us? Like, what can we actually learn from this guy's life? How do we apply it?
Good question. And I think, honestly, a big part of it is faith. Like unwavering faith. But not just blind faith,
Yeah, there's got to be more to it.
It's about trusting something bigger than yourself, whether that's, a deity like Lord Dattatreya or just like the inherent goodness of the universe.
Really having that foundation.
And it's that trust that helped him face all those crazy challenges with such calmness, resilience.
And he didn't just talk about detachment. He actually lived it.
Yeah.
No clinging to possessions, status, comfort. Like, he found freedom in simplicity.
Absolutely. And that freedom, it allowed him to be fully present, to serve others, whether it was guiding someone who was lost, helping someone who was struggling, just offering kindness. He saw the divine in everyone.
Which, when you think about it, that's a pretty powerful lesson in itself.
Totally. It's like his power came from letting go of all the things that hold most of us back. Fear, ego, attachment. He embraced simplicity, faith, and tapped into this wellspring of inner strength.
A strength that, honestly, I think most of us only experience in little glimpses.
Exactly. Those glimpses, those moments when you feel connected to something bigger, those are your embrace your power moments. And the key is recognizing them, figuring out what helps you access that strength inside.
The meditation, nature, helping others, creative stuff. What works for you?
It's a question worth asking yourself, for sure.
Yeah, what helps you tap into that resilience? Because we all have it in us, right? This potential for strength, for courage.
Rang Avadhoot's life just shows us what's possible. When we align ourselves with something bigger than our fears, our desires, he didn't need grand gestures or superpowers. It was about finding that quiet strength within, letting it guide him.
And that's something we can all do. So thanks for joining us on this exploration of Rang Avadhoot's life. We hope it's inspired you to, look inward, find that power within yourselves.
And face those challenges with a little more grace, a lot more faith.
Thanks for listening, everyone.